Hello, this video is about edTPA Task 2, the instructional task for the Early Childhood Education Handbook. This will focus on video recording tips. I'm Muriel Rand from New Jersey City University. First, an overview of Task 2. You're going to get permission from the parents to video record, and then you're going to implement and video record your lessons. I recommend you record all 3 of your lessons. And then you're going to choose 2 video clips, one of whole group and one of small group. They can be from one lesson or more than one lesson. Like your whole group could be from one lesson, your small group could be from another lesson. And then you're going to write the instructional commentary. And that's the overview of Task 2. So let's talk about the video recording itself. If you are teaching completely in person, or you're working with only your students who are in person, my advice is to first practice. You want to practice using your phone or whatever camera you're going to use. I'm assuming you're using your phone. And check that the angles can show everybody and that you can see everybody and you can hear the students. Especially if they're wearing masks, sometimes it's a little difficult to hear them. So try to get the phone as close to the students as you can. Get your students used to being recorded, so record a couple of lessons before you do your edTPA lessons. And make sure you keep the camera running the whole lesson. Don't turn it off and on except when you switch to small group, because your video clips must be continuous. So you're going to choose 2 small segments from the long video that you've created. Okay, if you're teaching virtually, then you need to practice recording your screen. You could use Screencastify or Screencast-O-Matic. You can record directly with Zoom or with Meet. And you can also use your phone behind you to record the screen. So those are all the choices that you have. The students' cameras may be off. That's allowed. It's just harder to show their engagement. So if you can encourage them to have it on, that's a little bit better, but they're allowed to have it off. And if you have anybody on your Meet that doesn't have permission, then have them keep their camera off. And again, practice. Record a couple of your lessons before you do your edTPA lessons. And again, keep the recording going the whole time. Now, what if you're hybrid and you have students online and you have students in person? Well, consider, do you have enough students? You need at least 4 to record only the students in person. That might be a little bit easier. And then the remote students could be working with an assistant teacher or working independently. Or maybe you can record only remote students. You know, think about what your setting is like. You need to have at least 4. However, if you're capturing both the remote and in person, then you're going to have the camera in person. And you're going to situate it so that you and the students can be seen. You're only going to capture the voices of the remote students because there's really not any way that you can record what's happening in your classroom and what's happening on their screens that I can think of. So I think the best bet is to just keep the camera going so that you can hear the students who are remote and you're seeing the students who are in person. And once again, record a couple of lessons before you do your edTPA lessons and keep the camera running the whole time. Here are some reminders for what you want to show in your recording. This is what you're going to be evaluated on. Are you showing respect, rapport, and a positive environment in which there's not a lot of risk? So in other words, you don't want kids to be nervous or anxious. Are you showing active multimodal learning? Now, if you're remote, this is a little bit harder, but not impossible. You still want to have the kids move and sing and talk and do things, not just sit and listen. Number 3, you want to elicit and build on children's responses. So in other words, get them to do things, either answer questions or move or create something, whatever it is you're asking them to do. Ask them to do something and then follow up. So if you ask a question and a kid gives you an answer, follow up on that answer. You want to show how you're stretching your children, how you're challenging them to think more. 4, give good quality feedback, specific feedback. You did X really well. Instead of saying good job, wow, you did a really, or just expand that. You did a really good job of giving me descriptive details in your story, or you were able to retell the story and you included all of the elements, or you were able to identify the main character and you knew why that was the main character. Give good quality feedback all the time, frequently, because you need it to end up in your little 7 or 8 minute clip. So you want to make sure that you're giving feedback frequently. You want to make sure that you're making connections to what the kids already know and to their interests. So remember when we talked about this yesterday, or, oh, this is like the soccer game that you guys love to play. You're going to make constant connections to their prior learning. We always want to connect what we're doing to what they already know. You're also going to make interdisciplinary connections. That means that you're going to connect, you're going to directly teach your children how science might connect with reading, or how we can learn about social studies by writing and reading books, or that we can use art in reading so that we're acting like illustrators. You want to get your children using the vocabulary. That's already in your lesson plan. So just try to get that on tape as much as you can, the kids using the words. And when you're doing your small group, you want to record your focus students doing your common assessment. Your common assessment is just one of your 3 assessments. You're going to pick that and you're going to focus on that for task 3. They call it your common assessment. It just means that you've given it to everybody. So record your focus students doing, actually, if you can, record them doing all 3 of your assessments, and then you can pick the one that comes out the best. So some more tips on getting ready for this. I recommend you script out what you're going to say, including the elements that we just talked about. Script out your questions, write them down ahead of time. Script out where you can possibly give feedback. Script out what you're going to say for interdisciplinary connections, and maybe script out a few things that you can do that are related to their prior learning or their personal assets. And you can also script out, when and how you're going to work with your 2 focus students. A reminder on the focus students. You need 2 focus students. You're going to work with them in this task and in task 3. Record their work during independent practice in a small group. The small group can be just the 2 of them, or it could have some other kids. One focus student must have a special learning need that you've already identified in the context for learning. And again, keep the camera running the whole time. What is continuous video? Well, think of your video as a ribbon. You're allowed to cut 2 pieces of that ribbon. You can't cut 3 or 4 pieces and stick them together. You need one continuous shot with no editing for each of your 2 videos. So you're going to cut a piece, you're going to cut one piece of your whole group video and one piece of your small group video, and together those 2 clips will be 15 minutes. And you can blur the faces of any child that you don't have permission to film, or you can have their cameras off. Now, looking ahead to task 3, you're also going to need some video clips for task 3. For task 2, you just have the 2 videos, whole group and small group. For task 3, you're going to need video evidence of learning for each of your focus children. It can be the same video in task 2. A lot of our candidates have used the same video in task 2, but if there's a better one from a different lesson, you can use that instead. You also need evidence of you giving feedback to each focused child. Again, it can be the same video that you've used before, or it can be a different one. And you need evidence of them using the vocabulary words. Again, can be the same video in task 2, but you could also do a different video clip if you wanted. So there's the opportunity to use a few more video clips. Again, if the ones from task 2 also include all of this, then your work is done and you only need the 2 videos. But if you think that there's other little points in your lessons where the learning is demonstrated, or the feedback is demonstrated, or the vocabulary is demonstrated better, you can include more videos. Just a note about confidentiality. You'll want to remove or blur your name and use pseudonyms or general references for your state, school district, or cooperating teacher. You can mask or remove all but the first names on any typed or written materials that could identify individuals or institutions. And during video recording, use the children's first names only. If their names show up on the Meet, Google Meet, or the Zoom, you can blur that out. Do not share your video on any publicly accessible platforms or websites. You can upload it to Blackboard and to TK20, and that's it. So in summary, you're going to video record your whole group learning and your small group with your 2 focus students doing the learning assessment. Keep the camera going. Don't turn it on and off during filming. So read the handbook for planning task 2 just to make sure you know what you're doing, and you're going to do a great job.